Hi everyone, I'm Jo and I'm changing careers at 25 years old. And here's why. I don't even know where to begin. Gosh. I have no idea how to start this video. Let's have a yap. I turned 25 in February. I decided to change my career from nursing to law, and I'm now about 3 weeks away from starting, which is crazy to me. The number one question I got when telling my friends and family about this career change was why? So let's talk about it. Why did I choose healthcare? The number one memorable moment I have in wanting to do healthcare was way back when I was 10 years old. It happened when my grandma on my dad's side had a critical medical event. She was going in and out of consciousness at home. We called the ambulance, and I just remember being 10 years old at the time. I was sitting in a corner because all the adults and my family were around her trying to keep her alert and not go unconscious, and I just remember sitting in the corner not knowing what to do, feeling absolutely helpless. Is that normal for a 10-year-old? Of course. But that feeling really stuck with me and still stays with me to this day. I hate feeling helpless, and at my core, wanting to help people if I know I can is the basis of what I do. I had another moment in my life that really turned me to nursing. So in my final year of high school, I was hospitalized for a very simple procedure, and at the time I kind of made the cutoff to still be considered a peds patient. So I was admitted to the pediatric ward. I was there for a week. I had the warmest experience with a nurse who honestly changed my entire hospitalization experience. And I still stand by the fact that personally, I think nurses make or break your experience in hospital. They are your biggest advocates. Nurses have the biggest patient interaction time, and they will know you the best. And I truly value the role of advocacy in nursing. And yeah, that led me to explore nursing for uni. So I went a bit back and forth. I was born in Sydney, moved to Queensland, then came back to Sydney to finish my high school years. And like most people, I thought I'm going to graduate, I'm going to go straight to uni, do 4 years and start my career. Except it all went wrong. Not only did I not finish my degree in 4 years, I finished it in 6. I did a double degree in science and nursing. My first year was science and I hated it. But during that first year of uni, I unfortunately heard the news that my grandma, who was 79 years old at the time, was diagnosed with stage 3 bile duct cancer. We must have gotten the diagnosis around late May in 2018, and it was quite a sudden diagnosis. And initially, because it's stage 3 and for her age, they told us she only had maybe weeks or months, because chemo wasn't really something she wanted to do, nor did the doctors think it would help her quality of life, which I agree now as a healthcare professional. She also could have had surgery, but again, her age really limited our options. So 2018 was my first year of uni. We were just doing our Bachelor of Science and no nursing studies. And that wasn't an easy year of my life because I was a full-time carer for her since she wasn't fluent in English, and also trying to keep up with my first year uni studies, which it's a big jump from high school. Long story short, we got the diagnosis in May. She unfortunately passed away in February, which was still so good for her prognosis. We got to see her 80th birthday, which was still a big milestone that we really wanted to see her get to. She made it for about 8 months before passing away in February. Now, the timing of it is a bit ironic because February the next year, so 2019, is when I started my nursing studies, and again I felt helpless because I hadn't started my nursing studies yet. I couldn't help her during her entire cancer journey. I didn't know what all these medical terminologies meant. I didn't know what all her vitals meant or her pathology results, and it really reinforced the whole feeling of being helpless all over again. And I was convicted that nursing and healthcare was absolutely the pathway for me. We were at this hospital for 2 months, which also happened to be a teaching hospital of my uni. And when the nurses found out that I was doing nursing the next year, they were wanting to show me around and help me with the terminology, and also offered if I wanted to do little things here and there for my grandma, and I truly appreciated the experience. Anyway, skip forward, I start my nursing studies and placement. I personally feel like I wasn't the luckiest with placement. I was pretty much at the same hospital for almost all of my placements. They were not the wards that I wanted. I didn't get a single pediatric rotation, and deep inside I knew I really wanted to do NICU. So we had 2 opportunities in my final year of nursing to choose pediatric rotations, and I didn't get either of them. So skip forward to my last year of uni. I am now applying for jobs, applying for programs, preparing for interviews, and just trying to decide where I wanted to go the next year. In short, I basically applied for NICU even though I had no idea if NICU was for me. But I knew if I didn't give it a go, I would never know. And that's something that would eat me up for eternity. So yeah, gratefully I got into one of the most competitive hospitals and completed my program until May this year. I successfully completed my program in May, and I just haven't been back since. And that's not because I don't like NICU or I don't want to go back to nursing altogether. I think I'm still processing what happened because I love the babies. It was an absolute privilege being able to look after them the way I was able to. It was such a rewarding experience. These were very sick babies. Being part of their journey, going from very premature sick babies to requiring surgery most of the time and then getting discharged, and seeing them celebrate their first birthdays, or like previous babies who are now toddlers and teenagers and adults. It is quite a life-changing experience, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. However, towards the end of my program, I personally feel like we had a bit of a cluster of palliative babies, and that was just something I feel like I still struggle with to this day. And that was something a lot of people warned me about when I told them I was starting in NICU. They said, it's all great, but you know, those sick babies, like, it's heartbreaking. And at the time I was just more excited about helping the babies. Just being there for them was so much bigger than any other heartbreak that I thought I would experience. It ended up hitting me a lot harder than I thought. And truthfully, I still can't wrap my head around it. I think I still very much struggle with the fact that, you know, we have palliative adults, my grandma being one of them, you know. In fact, one of my last placements was an oncology palliative care ward. You see all these adults, it's the same sad, unfortunate position that they're in, but you know, they have lived their lives. They have curated something. But when you really think about the babies and having them go like that, and knowing that we're a surgical NICU, so we're one of the last resorts, we do everything for them, and if you hear that there's nothing that we can do for them, you know that there's very little to nothing you really can do for them. And that hits me hard. I think it's hard because you see the possibility and the hope of a baby starting their life, and most of the time you have to process not only the baby's passing but also the grief of the parents. And I think I was just not well. Luckily I had 3 weeks of annual leave, and then I transitioned from being full-time to casual, and I let management know that I wouldn't be continuing. That is a question I get sometimes. Don't you regret doing healthcare. It's not easy. All those unpaid placement hours and that hard labor. Don't you regret it? Don't you wish to explore something else in healthcare? And honestly, of course, nursing was quite literally one of the hardest things I've done. I even got in an accident. I broke my leg to almost a car accident level. I broke both the tibia and the fibula with a spiral fracture, and I was out of work for 3 months, and I completed my final year of nursing in that state. And it was one of the most challenging years that I've gone through to this day. And of course that comes into play, and of course I think about it when I'm making a decision as big as this. However, I don't regret it, because I think at the end of the day I always would have done healthcare. Now, that's nursing out of the way, so why law? So a little backstory about law is, in January this year, I went to go see my family overseas, and of course they were asking me how I was, how my new job at NICU was, if I loved it, if I hated it, and they were just asking for updates. It's kind of one of those moments where you feel okay, but someone asks you, are you okay? And then you start crying. And I think it was very similar for me in that when people asked me if I liked NICU, if I liked my job, if I was happy in my job, it's not that I didn't like NICU per se, I just didn't know if nursing was going to be a lifetime job for me. Then I came back from my trip on my 25th birthday and I went into a spiral. It's like the second I turned 25, I went into this midlife existential crisis. Was thinking, what am I doing? I was having very, very severe pre-shift anxiety. Because I did 12-hour shifts at my hospital, I would have a couple days on, couple days off. But the night before my shift, or at least the mornings before my night shift, I would be up. I would dream about work, and it's the worst when you dream about work, you wake up and you haven't gone to work yet, so you have to basically live out your dream. And I would have anxiety about my babies, who I would get, if I can look after them well, have anxiety about I feel like it was a mix of anxiety and imposter syndrome, where these babies were so sick and I was doubting if I could really look after them. Anyway, I found myself not wanting to go back to work, basically. So I'm like, okay, I'm 25. I just did my nursing degree. In fact, I did a double degree. I got my master's. I got into a really good program at a very competitive hospital. I'm about to finish the program, but now I'm not happy. I don't want to go back to work. I am not satisfied, and the biggest thing is I felt like I wasn't done learning. And a lot of nurses do postgrad courses and diplomas. I think I yearned for another degree, and that sent me into a whole different spiral. It's one thing to spiral about your work and maybe thinking, oh, should I be looking for another job? But it's a whole nother spiral to think, is this the right career for me? So it really came down to, what do I like doing? What am I good at? What can I do? Do I want to go back to uni? And what do I want to gain out of this job? Because for me, it's really important to love my job, because my body was physically reacting to my shift work and my job at NICU. I was losing so much hair in the shower. I was breaking out. Sometimes I lost my appetite and I couldn't eat. I was bedrotting. I lost most of my social life, and I would just be at home bedrotting. And whilst that sounds like a dream, and honestly it was for the introvert side of me, it also would make me wonder, what did I achieve in my week? And when those weeks turns into months and then a year, it really made me wonder what I was doing. And the one thing I really want to get straight is I'm not changing to law for the money. If money was such a deal breaker for me, frankly, I wouldn't have done nursing, because especially in New South Wales, nurses are not paid enough, and we are paid the lowest in Australia. And you could not force me to do the job that I have done for the last year if it was for the money. So let's get that straight. And basically I went into Google and I looked up job for people who are good at, and then listed like lots of the skills that I thought I could bring to the table, and one of them was a solicitor. And when I saw that search result, it felt like everything clicked into place. My sister had actually gotten into law, and that was a hot topic in my family anyway. I kept thinking about little things. It brought up so many memories of my past schooling and my past experiences where it kind of directed me to law, but I pushed it away because I knew I was going to do healthcare. And to this day, even if I went back in time knowing the decisions I have made so far, I still would have done healthcare first. That would not have changed, and that is the reason why I do not regret the decisions I have made. Anyway, back in high school, we could choose electives, and at the time I chose business studies because that's all I really knew about. And like I mentioned, I came from Queensland, and all these electives and subject names were so foreign to me. So I just chose what sounded safe, and I did business studies, but most of my friends at the time were doing legal studies. And I remember telling them like, oh my gosh, I should have done legal studies. Like, this seems like so much fun. And even my sister did legal studies, and why didn't I do that? For my school, if you did legal studies, you were able to do a mock trial inter-school competition. And at the time, it was only open for legal studies students, and that meant I couldn't be a part of it. But because most of my friends were involved in that competition, I just tagged along whenever they had these meetings. The teachers actually let me participate, which was so nice of them. So you have 2 barristers, 1 solicitor, and 2 witnesses. And because I wasn't doing legal studies, I don't think I could have done the solicitor or barrister role, because I think they're reserved for legal studies students. But the teachers let me do the witness role, which basically was a script that I had to memorize, and we would prepare examination questions and cross-examination questions and potential responses. I remember having the best time, and that was honestly a highlight of my high school experience, and I still think back on it very, very fondly. And that was the first compelling factor in choosing law. I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot that experience existed, and I would very much like to relive that. Secondly, I took a trip down memory lane and realized something. I need to find it. So in year 12, you go to different open days for different universities. I went to this one open day, and they were giving out freebies. And you won't believe this, but whoever was in the 2017 committee for that open day for the Faculty of Law and Justice, I owe a lot of this decision to them, because they were giving out these spongy gavels. How cute is that? And it even says law. So they were giving out these spongy gavels as part of the open day freebies. I have pictures of having their law school cupcakes, and big news, I am going to this very university for my Juris Doctor degree. It really felt like everything clicked into place. Like, I found this. and really felt like law was just screaming in my face. I think I'm quite a spontaneous person and can be impulsive at times. I was really scared to make this decision. I didn't tell a lot of people about it or during the process, and it's something I internalized for many days until it got to a point where I realized this all doesn't matter if I don't even get into law. So one night I just applied. I sat at my computer at like 10-11 p.m. at night and just did my application. And so I thought, hey, if I don't get in, maybe this isn't the path for me, but let's just apply, wait on it, and I'll let my application kind of decide what I do with my life. So at this point I was still technically on my annual leave and had about 4 or 5 days until I went back to work. And you guys, I literally got my law school acceptance email at around 6 a.m. the morning of my first shift back at work. Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's it, I'm leaving nursing. And I remember being so shocked myself and like just did not have the chance to process it because I was on my way to work. And I told my friend about it, and yeah, the rest is history. I'm starting my law degree in 3 weeks. I have bought my very first law textbook. Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to look back on this video at the end of my law degree, but at the moment I don't really have a particular field that is like screaming out to me. I don't know what part of law I want to do, and I'm very much open to anything and everything. And I think that's a very unique perspective to have for postgrad students, because we all come from established careers or established backgrounds, and this is our second chance, or it might not even be your second, it might be your third or fourth, but this is all in all a new chance at a new career and marks an incredibly exciting era of your life. And to that, I think I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to be studying again, and I feel way more hopeful this time round. But like I said, I do want to be very open-minded going into this degree. Yes, it would be very nice to find a field that combines both my nursing or healthcare expertise to this newly gained law expertise, but I'm not hung up on it. It's nice if it works out, and even if it doesn't and I find something I'm super passionate about, that's more important to me. I'm still trying to figure out how to maintain my nursing career amidst all of this. It's very difficult to balance full-time law degree, but yeah, I'm very excited to be going back to uni and studying again. I think it's such a privileged position to be in, and I am so grateful and so excited to be starting this new journey. I know I can never feel helpless in its entirety, but I hope I can work towards feeling that less. I don't know if anyone will watch this entire video or if anyone cares about my life story. Even if one person sees this video and gets the courage to maybe try something that they've been wanting to do, I feel like that's my job done. But yeah, I must have said this 1,000 times, but I am so excited. I think that's it for me. But yeah, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you for listening to me yap, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!